If you remember when we started talking about plants, and we said classifications of plants, and we had in our interactive notebook classifications, we said first of all we have vascular and non-vascular. So it's an either or, folks. Either you're a vascular or you're non-vascular, right? Now, what does that mean? Vascular. What did we say a vascular plant was? It has a xylem and phloem, meaning that it has tubules, right? It has tubules that carry items up and down the plant. Now, when we're dealing with vascular plants, we have two different types that we'll talk about here. One of them we'll talk about tomorrow, but at the end of this slide stuff, we'll talk about how we break them down into a little bit more. But if you look at some of these vascular plants, you know, it looks like some sort of a flower that we could possibly see. Okay, looks like a tree. That looks like a kind of like a Christmas tree, right? So those are some different types of vascular plants. Now, these vascular plants, what are some characteristics of vascular plants? Well, first of all, they are multicellular. They are multicellular plants. Since they're in the domain eukarya, what can you tell me? They are eukaryotic cells. Once again, I know we've talked and we've discussed, okay? What does eukaryotic mean in terms of cells? Yeah, what's it mean? It has a true nucleus. So a eukaryotic cell has a true nucleus. They're autotrophic. They make their own food using energy from the sun and photosynthesis. Now, if you would glance back to your non-vascular notes, okay, has anything changed yet? Is there any difference? You know, vascular and non-vascular plants are all multicellular, all eukaryotic. They're all autotrophs. So something's got to give. Something's got to change. Well, yeah, because vascular plants have tubes. Vascular plants have tubes, roots, stems, leaves. Okay? They have roots, they have stems, they have leaves. These vascular tubes. Now, the diagram here is of the vascular tube. So let's talk a little bit about them. They retain water. They transport materials. These tubes that transport materials, we already discussed, the xylem, the phloem. The xylem transports what? Water. What does the phloem transport? Sugars and minerals from the leaves down. The water usually goes from the roots up. Okay, so are the phloem and the xylem going in the same direction? Usually not. Okay, usually not. Cells are supported using cell walls that are made of cellulose. The cell walls are made of cellulose. Okay, I guess let me backtrack a little bit here, because this is a picture here of a stem. Okay, here is the stem. This is what we call a cross section. Okay, and what I mean by that is, imagine if you have a stem and you just take some scissors and cut it. Okay, cut the flower off right at the stem, and you're looking at the top down at that stem. This is what you would be looking at right here. Okay, so we have different labels, different terminology, and we won't talk about a lot of this. We just don't have time. I would love to do it. We don't have time. I would love to put these under microscopes and actually look at some of these. We're running out of time, though, like I said. Okay, this is the cambium right here. Okay, this is the cambium right here in the middle of the xylem, which is on the inside, the phloem, which is on the outside. So this kind of looks like an acorn right here, doesn't it? Looks like an acorn. Where this orange part, excuse me, this orange part is xylem. The line in the middle is the cambium. The brown part is the phloem. Now, we've taken this and we've blown it up here. So you can see this right here is the cambium that's separating in this particular plant, that is separating the phloem right here. And you can say, what way is the phloem going? Down towards the roots. And here's the xylem. What way is the xylem going? Up from the roots. Okay? So that's just a different picture of xylem and phloem. Okay? Asexual reproduction. Vascular plants can asexually reproduce, much like it was before. Okay? Spores. They could also have vegetative propagation. What was vegetative propagation? What was vegetative propagation? Miguel, you got that in your notes? I'll bet you do. Go to your vocab page. Okay. Look on our vocab page. Vegetative propagation. You got it? What is it? Once again, the small part of the plant will break off and form a new plant. Vegetative propagation. I'm in a lot of trouble with that word. Sexual reproduction through pollen, and ovules. Pollen and ovules. We'll talk about that here later on and get into some of that when we talk about parts of a flower next week. Okay, we'll talk about parts of a flower next week and get into some of that sexual reproduction that's occurring in plants. Now, when we are discussing vascular plants, we have different types of vascular plants. One type that we'll discuss later on, and it's just something that, if you've got room, you might want to just jot these down. vascular plants somewhere below your notes. You might have a little bit of room. Angiosperm. And what was the other type? Huh? Gymnosperm. Now these angiosperms, we see these all over the place. Okay? We see these all over the place. We see gymnosperms all over the place too. Okay? But these angiosperm, okay? These angiosperms are the ones that we commonly see that could possibly grow fruits. Okay, definitely flowering plants. Now the other type that we talk about are gymnosperm. Okay? I'm sure you've seen these things before, haven't you? What are those things? Pine cones. All right? I've seen pine cones before. I just saw the other day when I was out on a walk. You know all those big trees at the north end of the football field? Okay? Got all kinds of pine cones laying right at the base of them on the fence and out by the sidewalk there. Just noticed those the other day. Okay? Now, I'll give you extra credit. Here's your extra credit if you want some extra credit. I'll give you extra credit if you find a pine cone and bring it in. Okay? If you don't know where to look, I just told you one place. Okay? Another place I saw a lot of them at, just was there last night, a golf course. Okay? I was out at the links golfing. Saw a bunch of pine cones laying around. Okay? There's probably some right over here at East School, too, laying on the ground. I don't know that for sure, but I know they got trees over there. So if you bring in a pine cone and you hand it to me, I'll give you a bonus for it. But it's got to be tomorrow because that's when we're going to be talking about the gymnosperms. Okay? Yeah, probably not. Okay? What I got here is a drawing of a seed. This is just a seed like you and I would see if we would hold it. Okay? I'll go get one here in a second when we got a little bit of extra time. All right? But here is a seed. The outside of it. Here is a cross section of the seed. So what I've done here is I've split that seed in half. And we're looking at the 1/2 of the seed that I cut in half. That's what this is. The cross section. This is the whole outside of the seed. So, you just read that paragraph on the seeds, right? And if you look at that paragraph, it says that we have certain terms. What are some of the highlighted things? Okay? What are some of the highlighted things? Seed coat, the cotyledon, right? The hilum, the endosperm, the embryo. We're going to be labeling those things on there. So, if I would look, I'm looking at, I don't actually remember where I started it, so I'm going to hit it right here. I think I started it right up here, but we're going to see. Okay? I'm going to hit it right there. Okay? Right there. The endosperm. What is the endosperm? Look at your reading. Tell me, what is that endosperm? What is it? Who can tell me? You see it there, Jonathan? What is the endosperm in the reading? source of food for the embryo. So the endosperm is a source of food for the embryo. Well, if I'm looking at this, that this whole thing here is the endosperm, right? What must be the embryo? Huh? This whole thing? Well, there you go. The embryo. Okay? The embryo, the baby plant that will emerge when the seed starts to germinate. Okay? When the seed starts to germinate, we have what we call an embryo. Now next, okay, is down here, it's kind of hard to see. Okay? It's kind of hard to see, but what we're talking about is the inside layering here. Because you can see there's two layers. It's really easy to see right here. Here's one layer. Here's the inside layer. So this inside layer right there is what we call the seed coat. What is the seed coat, Dylan? The seed coat protects the seed while it's preparing to grow, right? So the seed coat is protecting the seed. What is the outside? Huh? What is the outside? How about the cotyledon? Okay, the cotyledon. Now, this very next one, okay, that's all the one on that diagram. This next one, we're talking about this diagram. If I look at this diagram here, okay, what is the outside? That's what this is pointing to. The outside coating of the seed. What is that? That's of a leaf, okay? The outside coating, we've already got it labeled on our other one. What was the outside? We just did it, right? What was it? Cotyledon. Okay? So that is the outside. And finally, what do you think? Who can tell me what this thing is? Right there. Lewis? The hilum. What is the hilum? What is the hilum? Okay, it's the marks left on the cotyledon in which the seed, where the seed was attached to the plant at. Okay? Where the seed was attached to the plant at. That is the cotyledon. Okay? Now, what I want you to do, and while you're doing this, okay, I'm going to get some seeds out to look at, but what I want you to do is, I want you to color your seeds with this color key right here.